Hi there, welcome to Nonsense Whisky. My name's Vin PF, and on today's episode we've got a huge heavy hitter in the whisky world, and something that I think pretty much every person who is kind of reviewing whisky in any capacity should really cover at some point. And now, this is me. This is the Johnnie Walker Black Label. It's not the first Johnnie Walker I've covered. I've covered the Red Label, I've covered the Blue Label, and I've covered the White Walker, all of which I'll put in a Johnnie Walker playlist just up here if you're interested in those whiskies. This one is the kind of first in what they call their premium bracket. So the Red Label is kind of really like bog standard, cheapest whiskey that they make, and it's generally kind of a mixer's spirit, whereas this is the first one in their range that's designed more to be drank on its own or in any other way that you deem necessary. Now, they've got a huge history. They didn't always look like this. They've had many different iterations over the years, but the Black Label itself came in 1909 when they did a big rebrand and included the little striding man that we see on the front of most, if not all, of Johnnie Walker's bottlings. They've got a huge history back from like 1820, but really we're talking 1909 onwards when we're talking about the kind of modern Johnnie Walker bottlings. Going on from 1909, of course, the Johnnie Walker label transferred over to the Distillers Company in 1925, and then that was bought by Guinness in 1986, and finally Guinness merged and they kind of put Diageo as a brand, as a company together in 1997. And that's what we've got now. So this is a Diageo brand, and it's the biggest selling brand of Scotch whisky in the world. Now that's got overtaken by Indian whisky fairly recently in the last couple of years, but Scotch whisky, still Johnnie Walker. Red Label is kind of the highest selling one of the range, but this is a close second, I think. Maybe not close, but you know, it's second. It's second. Right, let's get into the whiskey itself and see really if it's worth the money. We're talking obviously a 40% whiskey here, and in the UK the price kind of really does vary wildly from about £20 to up to 30, depending on time of year, any deals that are on, what shop you're in, that sort of stuff. Let's see what we've got in the glass, shall we? We're not going to talk about colour. This has obviously been added colour. It's supposedly a mixture of up to 40 different whiskies right across from the range. So there's everything in this, everything. Let's have a go on the nose. The first thing that jumps out to me is a load of kind of dried fruits, let's say. We're talking like raisins and sultanas, that sort of thing. Some sherry notes in there as well, which is probably where I'm getting the kind of dried fruits from. Definitely sherried whiskey in this, no shadow of a doubt. But my favourite thing about this is the touch of smokiness to it. And we're not talking like peat smoke, it's definitely not that. It's almost like it's come from the barrel, you know, extra charring on the barrel, that sort of thing. There is peated whiskey in here, but it's a very small percentage, just to give it a bit of added depth rather than to really take over. It's a really nice nose actually, really nice. You kind of lose yourself in it. Let's try on the palate. Now, something that really surprises me about this is that it doesn't taste that thin. Now, usually at 40%, chill filtered, all that kind of stuff, a kind of thinness comes through on the palate. And by that I mean it tastes a little watery, not that kind of thick, a little kind of viscous, all the things that we kind of generally like. You can see on the legs, well, I can see on the legs anyway, that it's not that leggy, but generally speaking, the palate's quite tasty. It's kind of spicy forward. Cinnamon is something that I get quite a lot on it. Some toffee notes in there as well, more of that dried fruit from the nose. And that smoke is coming back towards the end. And again, it's not a kind of heavy peat. It's more of a kind of gentle, kind of toasted, smoky, woody smoke, that kind of thing. It's not an earthy or a medicinal kind of peat. So really quite tasty. The finish, surprisingly long actually, quite spicy as well, and a kind of waft of that warming kind of smokiness. I mean, the thing is, it's one of those whiskies that people tend to discount because it's Johnnie Walker now. Johnnie Walker Red Label, I don't really like that whiskey. It's not a good whiskey in my personal opinion, but this really is, and it's not that many pounds more. It's not a single malt whiskey, so it's got a lot of grain in there as well. We don't know the exact percentage, but it's going to be bulking it up. Everything in it has been aged a minimum of 12 years, as denoted by the age statement on the bottle. Sure, they've put it through some rough kind of processes to get it down to its 40%, chill filtered, added colour, all the things that people generally speaking have a big no-no. But I got this for like £20 in the UK, maybe just a touch more. You know, we're talking a few quid more than the Red Label. Is literally, that's about £16 in the UK, maybe £4 or £5 more, and you're getting such a better whiskey. I added this in my top 5 go-to whiskey, so I'll put a link to that up here as well, and I stand by it. It's one of those whiskies that I will always have around because it's just really good quality for the price, and you can drink it without worrying about breaking the bank. For me, it's a recommended. Already going. A kind of thinness comes through